Hello, this is me, Lasma from Rustic Decor, and today I'm going to show you how to make the world map. They can make it from the beginning. Okay, so first what I'm going to do is I will stain my wood board. So today I am using American walnut stain, so it's water-based stain, and I'm using my 2-inch brush. And because it's water-based stain, it dries pretty quick. So what you'll want to do is work a little faster rather than slower. And you're just going to stain the whole board. And I like to work one board at a time. And I'm going to stain maybe one or even like just half a board, depending how fast you work. And then I'll come back with a shop towel, the blue towel, and just wipe out everything that comes off. I'm also trying to get in between the grooves, so when the board dries and moves, that's what wood does, so it doesn't end up drying with like where you see the unfinished wood underneath. So I'll do my edges as I go as well. See if I can reach all the way to the back there. These sides really soak up the stain, so you'll want to be a little bit more generous here. Then grabbing the shop towel and just wiping everything that comes off in the direction of the grain. Make sure you get it all the way to the end. And now I'm ready to move to the next board, and I'll continue doing the same thing. Now that I'm done staining, I'll let my board dry, and in the meantime I'll go wash out my brush because I'll need it for the next steps. And after I'm done washing, I'll use paper towel and make sure that my brush is nice and dry again before I continue with the next step. Now that my board is dry, I'm ready to put on the stencil. Because this stencil is so big, I have made it from 2 parts and taped it together in the middle. So design is centered on the black, so all you need to do is just center out the black. And when you're happy where it is, I'm actually going to use green tape, a little bit tape on the side so it doesn't move. I think this is good. I'm not overthinking this. There's no letters on it, so you can't really, well, unless you put it super crooked, but it's gonna be nice and straight. And I'm just taping one side so I can flip over the other side, and then and that way my stencil will not move. And I will remove now the white paper from the back. Get the corner. And I'll make sure none of the black stays on my white paper. If something does lift up, then all you need to do is just push it back down and keep going. That one had to come up because that was island. Okay, so if you have help, you can ask someone else to help you with this, but I'm here on my own, so I'll start just in the middle and I'll just push it down from the center. And then I'll use my hands and just push out air from the center to the sides. Okay, and now I'll remove this tape. Don't need that anymore. And I'll repeat this step for the other side now. So if this happens, just push it back down and keep feeling. Now that my stencil is on, you can either just rub it over with your hand, but if you have like an old gift card, credit card, just rub it over the stencil. And what it does, it just helps the stencil to really stick to the wood. Do not overdo it. Just just one time over pressing down firmly will be all you need. And now I'm gonna start removing the white paper from the stencil. The reason we have this white paper is that it keeps the stencil together. When I'm peeling off this white paper, I will not lift it up because it sometimes tends to lift up the stencil. I will slide it sideways and put my hands on the white paper. That way it keeps the stencil down really nicely. So again, if something lifts up, all I'm going to do is just push it back down, hold it down with my fingers, and just keep peeling. Now that I'm done peeling, I'm just gonna go over with my hands and make sure all the little edges are pushed down. If you're worried you might get paint on your board where you don't want it to be, just grab some green paint if you have at home and just tape it on the sides where the design is closer to an edge. Now that my stencil is on the wood, I'm going to be using transfer and decoupage gel, and I'm going to use my brush that I made sure it's nice and dry, and I'll go over with this product over the sign. It right now looks white, but when you put it on, it's actually clear. And I'll just go all over the design, going with the brush up and down, right and left. So just like this, nice light coat. Up and down, right and left. And what it does, it seals the edges, so when you paint with the actual paint color, the paint doesn't sneak under your stencil and you get nice crisp lines. You do want to be careful where the boards are joining together. You don't want to put a big glob of paint or transfer decoupage gel. So I'm always starting in the solid part, and once I have less product on my brush, I'll go over the areas where the boards are joining together. Once I'm finished with this step, I'll go rinse out my brush again and make sure it's nice and dry before we start applying paint. Okay, now that my sign is dry, I'm ready to start painting. I did want to mention, so if you are using a hair dryer, make sure it's only in cold setting. Do not dry with hot or warm air. What will happen, it's gonna shrink your stencil and it's going to start lifting up and it's not going to stick anymore, and then paint might go under the stencil and you're just not going to have a nice finish. Okay, so my side is nice and dry, so I'm just touching, making sure it doesn't feel wet, and I'm using white today. And so little tips about painting, again, when I'm just loading up paint in my brush, I'm just gonna start with the solid part, and then once I have less paint on my brush, I'll start going over where the boards are joining together. And things that I'll do is, if you show you when I get there. So when I get to this area where boards are joining together, I'm just gonna go opposite direction, and I'm gonna put a very light coat on it. And you'll see this dark line right in the middle. Do not try to squeeze in paint in there. Let it be. Once we remove the stencil, you're gonna have nice line right across the middle, and it's not gonna look like it's not finished. Make sure you get all the little angles, all the little corners. It's better to do light coats, so sort of like dry brushing on very light coats. It will take an extra, probably on the solid parts, about 3 coats. And that's okay, because then you're gonna get nice finish rather than getting big globs and paint in between the boards, and you're just not gonna have a clean finish. So just patience. I guess I'm going here the opposite direction. Just nice light coats, and then that's gonna give me the best quality finish. Now that my first coat is finished, I'm gonna let this dry and come back in another like 5-10 minutes, and I can start working on a second coat. Okay, so now I'm gonna check, make sure the sign is dry before I start peeling. Alright, so that looks nice and dry. That's an old paint there. Okay, so I'm gonna start removing the black, the green tape first. See, it's good that we taped it. And then I'm gonna just remove the the black and black stencil, and just gonna, don't worry, nothing that doesn't need to come off will not come off. So I just like to work one side at a time and just gently remove it. Whatever doesn't, like the stencil rips, and that's normal, you can come back and just remove the pieces that didn't come off first. Now that the main stencil is off, I'm just going to use the X-Acto knife and just start removing the little pieces that are in the middle and that didn't come off as I was peeling the big stencil. When I'm using this, I will make sure I don't poke into the wood. I'm sort of sliding on the side there and just trying to lift it up, an edge that I can lift up afterwards with my hands. Now, if I do have any big globs of paint in between the boards, then I can use an X-Acto knife and just scrape some of the paint off. If not, the imperfections are totally fine. This is handmade, so it does not need to be perfect. But yeah, so then your sign is done.